All right. Hello, everyone. It is wonderful to be here with you all. My name is Andy Wells Bean. I am part of the UCC Environmental Justice Ministries, and I have here with me Reverend Dr. Brooks Barrett, also with the UCC Environmental Justice Ministries. We are so pleased that you are all joining us with right now today. And a big hello to everyone who is streaming this later. I know that a lot of folks weren't able to make it right now, so it's good to have you watching, whether right now or a little bit later. So we've got a wonderful informational program for you today. We're going to be talking about the program of Climate Hope Cards up till this point, what we've done so far. We're going to talk about why we're focusing on this advocacy campaign now. And then we're going to get into the logistics of the campaign. So you'll learn the ins and outs, how it'll all work, and the ways that your congregation will be able to take part. So before we get into all of that, I want to give a little bit of space to let Reverend Dr. Brooks introduce himself, and then I want to hear from each of you. Where are you coming from, what church you represent, and why you showed up today. But first, Brooks, why don't you say hello?
All right. Thank you, Andy, and thank you for your great work in organizing this campaign. Those of you who know me know that I am continually digging into the sacred history of the UCC's role in launching the environmental justice movement to find some gems of insight and inspiration. So I want to begin with one of my favorite stories from Dolly Burwell, the mother of the environmental justice movement and one of the great champions for justice in our denomination's history. As some of you likely know, the 1982 Warren County Civil Disobedience Campaign was to the environmental justice movement what the Montgomery bus boycott was to the civil rights movement. It was a watershed event that gained national attention, national media exposure. Over the course of 6 weeks, more than 500 people would be arrested and jailed, and preventing dump trucks from depositing a known carcinogen in a predominantly Black community. A good number of the protesters were church folks, and a good number of the protesters were also children and youth. Burwell was a lead organizer in this. She lived in the community and was concerned about the welfare of her children. But in a familiar move in the politics of Southern racism, the governor of North Carolina liked to condemn the protesters in Warren County as being outside agitators. On one occasion during the 6-week campaign, Burwell turned the words of the governor against him and organized an outside agitators day. People from all over the nation came in. Burwell recalls getting an important bit of wisdom from her mother at that time, when her mother said, "The most important part of the washing machine is the agitator. Without that, all you get is wet and dirty clothes." In the UCC, we at times are called to agitate for change. The Climate Hope Cards campaign is a form of sacred and holy agitation. Each of you is a sacred and holy agitator. Andy's going to go over the nuts and bolts of the campaign, the why of the campaign today. And my role is to point to some possible resources of support in being a sacred and holy agitator. I want to share with you 3 potential sources of support, but let me preface my remarks by providing some context. When I was a pastor of a church, we had some terrific environmental leaders in our congregation, one of which won a national award from the Sierra Club for his organizing work, the legendary Don Steinke. A small group of us in the church were involved in some terrific campaigns. But in hindsight, I recognize that our efforts would have received more support and would have been stronger if the entire congregation had been brought along for the journey. We have a program in the UCC for doing just that. It's our Creation Justice Churches program. It's about going through a process of discernment as a congregation to realize how to best live into our first calling in the Bible, the care of God's creation. That's a calling that everyone can own, not just a few people. True to our UCC heritage, how a congregation answers that call is different from church to church, and I never cease to be amazed by what happens in each congregation. A second lesson that I have learned from my time as a pastor is the power of a good book study. That church member who won the Sierra Club Award, Don, he got launched into that work during a church book group focused on a book by the legendary famous environmentalist Bill McKibben. Book groups can be a good way to bring people together. One can then get them to stay together through a project such as the Climate Hope Cards campaign. I can think of at least 3 books to read. Jim Antall's book, Climate Church, Climate World, Catherine Hayhoe's book, Saving Us, and a terrific book called Cathedral on Fire, a church handbook for the climate crisis. I'll even send you a free copy of the book if you just let me know in the chat or send me an email. And so there's some great options out there. The third resource I will mention is something to keep an eye open for. Each month, Michael, Malcolm, and I co-host a webinar panel of speakers, and we're going to devote our June 14th webinar to doing a deep dive into what's going on at the EPA and why this effort is so important. Our speakers will help you to keep the fire going for doing the sacred and holy work of being an agitator. Andy, I turn it back to you.
Thank you so much, Brooks. Thanks for pointing to those resources in print and on the web. Just many kudos to you for all the work you've done to bring us up to this point as a denomination and all the support that you've lent me in my work. So I want to take a moment, and now that we've sort of launched ourselves into this conversation with Brooks, I want to take a moment to hear from the folks who have joined us today. And in the chat, I want to hear where you're from. I want to hear what brought you here. So your name, your congregation, and then why you decided to show up. It's great to hear those things. So I'm going to be reading off a few. So I've got Rob Graybill from Church of Christ at Dartmouth College. They're an ONA Creation Justice congregation. Good to see you. See. We got Nancy Thursby, Orinda Community Church in California on, I might be saying this wrong, Alone land. Bonnie, Christ the Healer and Climate Cafes, cool. And San Mateo, now they're pouring in. Interest in climate, representing the church's green team. Always looking for actions to take with the Green Justice team. Debbie wants a copy of the book. Good. Wonderful. A few more people. Let me know why you are here and what you are, why you decided to show up. Jim's already got the book. That's wonderful. Fantastic. Good, good, good. Oh, an Environmental Action Town Committee member. Wonderful. That's great. Another taker for the book. Great. Tabernacle United Church. They've got an environmental action team. How does a church become a climate justice church? Oh, good question. We can send you some resources about that. Wonderful. Very, very good. Great. Well, I love seeing all this. And saying, I love the intergenerational plan of the Postcard project, how it enables all of us to be advocates. That is a fantastic transition. Thank you so much for posting that. I'm going to transition now. So this Climate Hope Cards campaign is actually, this is called the launch call, but we're actually partway through it. We've already had a really, really fun and powerful portion of it already, and that was the Climate Hope Cards art contest. So I'm sure that many of you participated in that art contest, or your congregations did. I want to show you a little bit about the wrap up of what that looked like. So let me arrange my windows here and I'll show you where we were. All right. So we were doing the Climate Hope Cards art contest, and this was our launching word in the midst of ongoing crises, and things seem uncertain and frightening. And as people of faith, we must heed prophetic voices and fight for a livable planet. So with a spirit of hope, UCC children and youth were invited to draw, color, or paint about climate hope, environmental justice, or just protecting the earth. Now, where did folks participate from? We had 341 churches registered and participating, 44 states plus DC, over 900 pieces of art, just wonderful, wonderful participation across the country. So we had categories. We had under 6, 6 to 9, 10 to 13, and we had to judge these, which was pretty tricky, on climate hope, artistic ability, and postcard ability, which is what we're getting to now. So I want to share with you some of that art. I know that some of you have seen this before, but I hope that you'll find it enjoyable regardless. So let's swap that around so you can all see. Oh man, I never get tired of watching that. So I appreciate all the folks who have seen that before for watching it along with me. So let me switch back to where we were before. That's good. All right. So I'm not making any news right now. These winners have already been announced, but I'm going to let you know we had our under 6 winner, Ashley, from Zion UCC in Tonawanda. We had Kate from 10 to 13, age 8, First Congregational UCC in Boulder, Colorado. We had Violet, age 12, from Wellesley Village in Wellesley, Mass. We had our 16-year-old honor from Mayflower Congregational in Oklahoma City. And our overall winner, the postcard winner, was Mallory, age 16, from Middleburg Heights in outside of Cleveland, Ohio. So again, I'll take this opportunity to say thank you to everyone who participated and many congratulations to the winners. Now, what are we going to do with all of that wonderful artwork that we got? Well, for one thing, you might have caught sight of it already. We have taken Mallory's artwork and we've made it into mugs. So we have Climate Hope mugs that are available from the UCC resources webpage for purchase. They're a great opportunity to shift your church's coffee hour away from single-use disposable cups into something a little bit more sustainable. So if you don't already have that set up, grab some. We'll toss the link in the chat soon, or maybe a little bit later in the program. But that's not where we're going to stop. Clearly, there is a lot of work to be done, and we are launching a national petition postcard drive, which is why you're all here, I hope. So why now? So Mercury, I'm sure many of us know this, we've read these headlines already, but the EPA is moving to get, it's getting into into fish we eat. There's soot pollution. Experts are saying they need to get a lot tougher. There's air pollution, there's soot, and there's haze in the air, causing people to get sick. Congress is a bit dysfunctional. That's not new, but it's still a problem. And the latest out of the IPCC, scientists are saying it's now or never. We need to cut our GHG emissions. Otherwise, it's going to be too late to turn this thing around. Now, I adapted a quote to sort of sum up why now, and the best time to join the environmental justice movement was 20 years ago, or maybe 40 years ago. The second best time to join that movement is right now, is today. And we have a unique opportunity in this coming year to have an impact on environmental justice, to have an impact on the amount of pollution that gets put out into the world, gets put out into our country, that impacts primarily and especially low-income communities and communities of color. And we have a unique opportunity to make that situation better, and I'll tell you why. Right now, the EPA is considering 10 different rules. Now, these rules, and we'll see a list of them in a moment, they cover everything from greenhouse gas pollution to mercury, to soot, to smog, to effluent out into rivers and streams and lakes, to coal ash, all sorts of different things. They're updating these rules. Now, for those of you who are not policy wonks, a rule is the way that a law, like the Endangered Species Act or the Clean Water Act, actually gets implemented. They have to nail down exactly what did those legislators mean when they passed this bill saying, don't pollute the waters of the United States. And so they have to pin down exactly how much pollution is allowed from X, Y, or Z factory, exactly how much air pollution is allowed to come out of trucks. And so we have an opportunity over the next year or so to update these rules to a really strong standard. And I don't want to understate this. If all of these rules are updated to a really strong standard, we are talking about saving thousands of lives every single year. Personally, I grew up with pretty bad asthma. I grew up in Detroit, not too far from downwind from 3 different coal plants. I didn't go outside for an entire school year because I had to stay inside during recess for a nebulizer treatment. No kid should have to sacrifice their play, should have to sacrifice their well-being because we are unwilling to make the choices to clean up the environment that they live in. No one else should have to do that. So we have an opportunity to push really hard on these rules. Now, do we need to push on these rules? Is that required? Well, these are the 10 different rules. There's the carbon standards for new power plants, existing power plants, mercury rules, soot, smog, all the regional haze rule. And as you can see, we are on track for 2 out of the 10. Some of them they haven't even gotten started on, and others are delayed and have been delayed more than once. So the industries that produce this pollution would be more than happy to keep things the way that they are. They don't want things to change. They are making money the way that they are, and they don't want to have to pay more to clean up their act, more or less. So what can we do? Well, we are going to be collecting petition postcards. Collecting petition postcards gives us an opportunity to do a little bit of public education. What percentage of the people in your congregation could define environmental justice? What percentage of the people in your congregation know that the EPA has rules and that when a law passes, there's a lot of discussion and debate and public process and public comment that goes into making it actually work? So we get to educate people about the process, about it, the topic of environmental justice and environmental racism along the way. That's just a sort of side benefit. But we're going to be collecting those petition postcards from now over the course of the summer. And then every person who signs their name on a petition postcard and puts down an email, they are going to be invited to provide official comments to the EPA. So you can sort of push the EPA and other government agencies to do the right thing generally, and you can submit an official comment through their online portal. So we will link to those official comment portals as well. So where are we going to get these postcards? We are going to collect them at coffee hour. That's where you should collect probably most of your postcards. Everyone in your church should be participating in these conversations and be filling out a postcard. And out in the community. So depending on what your community looks like, check out the farmers market. Go to outside a coffee shop, college campuses, your friends, your family. Knock on your neighbor's doors, say hello. If you have a book club, a bowling club, anywhere where you see people, have some postcards in your bag or in your pocket and collect a few more. Now, let's talk about the logistics. So each congregation must register. So many of you have already done that, and we'll drop a link to the chat to register the congregation so that we can make sure that you all get it. I will be following up to confirm that your congregation is interested in collecting postcards and that you didn't just register just to find out more information. And we will send pre-printed postcards. So we'll send you a little bundle of them, but we will also make a PDF available so that if you run out, which is a good problem to have, or if you're just eager to get started before we can send things over to you, that you can print them out on cardstock at your own, using your own printer or using the local FedEx office or something. And then we will have a link that is live on the web that as you are collecting those postcards, you can put that contact information back in real time. And we'll be able to build up that list of people that we know want to see stronger rules and invite them as those EPA rules come up for public comment to add their own official comment to the EPA. So that contact info comes back in real time. You collect a postcard, within a few days or a week, you should put it into the online form. Postcards, the physical postcards, come back to the DC office at the end of the summer. We'll be gathering up all these thousands and thousands of postcards from around the country, and we'll be coordinating with some of our allies to do a strategic drop-off of those. You don't need to worry about that now, but the postcards, you should just plan on bundling them all up and sending them back to us at the end of the summer. Now, the timeline, we are already past the Earth Day Summit. I hope many of you were able to attend. If you didn't, watch the recording. It was wonderful. Today is the launch call. In the next couple of weeks, we will be shipping out postcards to all those registered and confirmed congregations. Over the summer, we're going to collect those postcards. And by the end of summer, all postcards need to be sent in. So here is a sneak preview of what the postcards will look like. This is the front. For the love of creation, give us climate justice. And there is Mallory's artwork right in the middle. And on the back, you can see here is the language to President Biden and EPA Administrator Regan calling on them to care for our neighbors and set the strongest possible science-based pollution standards possible. So we'll collect phone, email, and name there and offer people the chance to write in a little message to the president and to the EPA as well. So I've thrown a lot of information out at you, and to look down for a quick time check. I want to pause for a moment to hear from you all, and what questions do you have? Either, and this can be from Brooks's presentation about the history of the UCC and its fight for environmental justice, or the logistics of the Climate Hope Card postcard campaign. So get your questions ready, and then we are going to get into some discussion after that. So first, let's take a look at some questions. I'm going to stop sharing for a moment, and so I can look at the Q&A section here. All right. How can we? Okay, let me scroll up here. Can we get a postcard of her art? We might be able to make a PDF of, if you want to add, make a custom version of the postcard with some local art. We might be able to make a PDF that allows you to do that, sure. Let's see, can we get some of your slides to do a display to promote the card? Nancy, send me an email about that. I'm happy to share some of these slides. Just tell me what would work best. All right, let's see. Are the websites going to be available later? I'm not sure which websites you're referring to there, so let me know.
Andy, I've been posting websites of everything you've been mentioning as you've been going along.
Okay.
And so I also shared the environmental justice page website and
Wonderful.
the specific climate card website in the chat. So I've been trying to catch the websites as you've been going along.
Perfect. All right, so I need to present this to our local ministry on May 15th. Is it okay to register after that? Great question, Nancy. So yes, and we will work, I'll try and make sure that you get the pre-printed postcards by that point. The worst case scenario is that if if that happens after after we send out the pre-printed postcards, somebody who registers really late might just have to print them up locally. But we're just going to try and reserve some for late registrants. How can I check if we are registered? The best thing to do is just to, if you didn't personally register and get an email back from it, you can register yourself. So if somebody else from the congregation already registered, not a problem. I'm going to be removing those duplicates, not a problem. Bonnie is asking, how can we make this an ecumenical effort? Great question. So this is intended as an effort by UCC churches and by UCC folks. We are doing this in close collaboration with Interfaith Power and Light and with other groups, like secular groups like Sierra Club and NRDC and Evergreen Action. So they are aware of this effort and they're participating in the broader push for these stronger rules. But this is intended for local UCC churches. What I will say is that if you have a relationship with other churches in your area, ask, and you know that they have a green team or they would be willing to host you, ask if you can make a presentation to their green team and see whether they'll pick up some postcards from you or whether you can collect postcards from them. I think the more that we can send the message to our colleagues and peers that this is what people of faith do. They push to protect the most vulnerable and to fight environmental injustice. That's all for the better. If you have specific questions, shoot me an email. All right, Daniel, is postage required on the card? So not on the individual card. You'll need to sort of bundle them all up in a little pack and send them at the post office. It should cost $5 or $6, maybe $10 to send them all back together. Is the info on the back of the postcard what we need to submit to the UCC? Exactly. Yep. So whatever people put for their contact info on the back of the card, that's what you plug into the form. All right. Somebody else wants the slides. That's great. How will we deliver all these postcards to the White House? So that is a good question. And we don't have the answer for that yet, in part because a lot of things are going to change between now and the end of summer. This might be as simple as a few folks from the national setting in our DC office going to the EPA headquarters, posing with some big boxes, banker boxes full of postcards, and then dropping them off to a staffer. It might be part of a large interfaith and other ally group rally or something. It all depends on where the campaign is at for these different rules at that point. If they've all stalled by then, which would be really unfortunate, and I don't think it's likely, we are less likely to have somebody from the White House sort of cheerfully show up and receive the postcard. On the other hand, if they are just doing really great, they're ahead of schedule, they will, and they're really wanting to show off the good work that they've been doing, they might be more interested in having a little press conference where they can show off a little bit. So we'll just have to see how the campaign progresses. What if the signer leaves blanks on the card itself? So as long as they put down their name and they're a real person, we're going to deliver them. Encourage as many people as possible to include at least some piece of contact information on the card so that they can, at least their email, so that they can be updated about the official comment periods for EPA rules. So they're not required to, but you can make a strong suggestion. And when somebody's filling it out, if you see that they've left that part blank, you can just say, oh, don't forget to put down your email. That's how we're going to let you know when these comment periods open up for the EPA rules. And if they say, nope, then no problem. But if they say, oh, okay, then great, you've got another email to plug in. What if you have congregation members that want to sign, don't want to share their phone number or email address? Same thing. they should put things down, but they're not required to. It doesn't get shared with anyone outside of the UCC, I guess, other than the White House. So they should sign, they should add their contact information, and a gentle nudge is all that's needed for most people to put down at least one of those. And especially if they know what it's for. If you tell them there are going to be public comment periods opening for these rules, and we want to make sure to let you know as soon as they're open, so you can submit an official comment to the EPA, then often people will fill it in. Any other questions at this point? We're using the Q&A section here. How about nuclear power plants as a clean source of energy? This campaign does not touch on nuclear at all. It really focuses on regulating existing sources of pollution. So it focuses on making coal plants cleaner. It focuses on making trucks and other sources of air pollution and smog a lot cleaner. It doesn't prescribe and can't prescribe clean sources, and whether that's nuclear that doesn't produce greenhouse gas pollution, or wind, solar, or anything else. This is all about cleaning up pollution rather than building the solutions that we need. That's a different topic that we've talked about in the past, but that's sort of outside of the scope of this particular campaign. How many cards will be sent to each congregation initially? That's a good question. We are working that out right now, and part of that will be up to you. I think that maybe 100, maybe 200, but I want you all to think about how many you think that you can collect. And Judith is saying there are questions in the chat. Yes, that's true. All right. Can we provide a flyer? Yes, definitely. We should definitely have a flyer. So we're going to have a flyer. We're going to have, but that said, these are not postcards that you're going to want to leave out necessarily or untended. You're going to want to have somebody there who can answer those basic questions like, where does this postcard go? Who's supporting this? Where did this art come from? It looks amazing. So we will make some flyers that you can print off so you don't have to make your own, but these should be the starting, use these as sparks for conversation rather than the entirety of the congregation. Ooh, children can lead the coffee hour effort. That's a great idea. I love that. Wonderful. So with that, I want to rearrange I want to bring up some topics for discussion. And if you have more questions or more of them occur to you, you can either post them in the chat or you can email me later. So I think it's important for us to root ourselves in what motivates us to do this work. There are going to be times where this is frustrating and some times where this is uplifting. So we'll start with that, and just, if you could in the chat, just put in what motivates you to push for environmental justice. Humanity, health concerns, role as stewards, my kids, saving Earth, deep concern about our future, grandson, children. The hope I feel from activism of young people. Love that. Connection between environment and poor health. Called to care for. Species loss, peace, How to bring the realm of God to the earth now. Who wants a polluted realm? Good point. Yeah. Thank you. So I'm asking you to reflect on these all now, because I think that it will be important to center the folks in your congregations who are doing this work alongside you with their own personal reasons for doing the work. And you'll find that many of them echo things that we're hearing here: species loss, their kids, their grandkids. But I think that it's important for people to have those in mind when they're setting out and doing this holy work. So reflect on what you said here, but also bring that question back to your local green teams and back to your fellow church members who are doing this work. So I want to share something with you right now, and you can use it if it's helpful, and you don't have to use it if it's not helpful, but it is a postcard goal calculator. So I'm going to drop the link in the chat. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with Google Sheets, I'm going to show you a quick trick. You can make a version of this for yourself. So I hope that many of you can see this now. Now, what you'll need to do is go to File and make a copy, or download. So you can either make a copy in Google, and you can use it on the web, or you can download it as an Excel file and you can use it there. So File, make a copy, or File, download, and you can use it either way. Now, this is a tool that you might find helpful for your own congregation and your own green team, or whoever is going to be collecting postcards alongside you. And you can think about your size of the congregation. So say you're a medium-sized church and you're somewhere in the middle between rural/conservative context, or a progressive hotspot, or a busy city, but your green team is raring to go. You're excited. Your suggested goal is 375 postcards. Now, say you are at a big church and a progressive hotspot, but you're just getting started. Then it'll adjust, and you can say, all right, we'll shoot for a little over 1,100. So you can make a copy for yourself, either download it or by making an online copy of it, and you can play with your own context. So clearly, if you are in a busy city or in a progressive, college campus town, it's probably going to be easier to find a lot of people who are willing to sign postcards than if you're in the middle of, Montana or something, or Wyoming, or somewhere else where you have to drive an hour just to get to a grocery store. I've lived in places like that. And then some people's green teams have been up and active and doing advocacy work for literally decades, and some folks are just getting started. They don't even have a name yet. So that's fine too. And there's all different sizes of churches within the UCC. If you're thinking about collecting a lot of those postcards from coffee hour, the number of people at coffee hour has a bearing on what you should set your postcards at. But I encourage you to either use this tool or not, that's fine, but to choose a goal for yourself, to figure out how many, if we push ourselves, how many do we think that we can collect? And then keep track. As you're making more postcards, as you're doing it, see how many you're getting and figure out where you're getting the most from. That will be extremely helpful. So let's get back to that. So I'd like to know, what tools does your congregation have? So in the chat, if you can share, do you have a green team? Do you have a minister for whom climate is like their big issue? They're really invested, and they could preach on climate change with a day's notice, rather than somebody who'd need to get. How old does somebody have to be to sign the postcard? That's a very good question. I would say to sign the postcard, they just need to be, of sound mind. They can be a kid if you want. If you're going to put down an email and phone number or contact information, I think the standard for like online signups is at least 13. So don't bother getting an email from kids who are not teenagers yet. But there's no strict, age limit. It's not a legal petition where you have to be a 18-year-old registered voter or something. So please post in the chat, what tools do you have in mind for your congregation? A green team, but it fizzled. They've got an outreach committee. Progressive people, that's helpful, good. A relationship with Interfaith Power and Light, great, that's helpful. They put together a Whole Earth Handbook, nice, that's great. A green team and a fired up EPA retiree, ooh, that is great, that is wonderful. A horde of highly motivated children, oh, you are so blessed, Rob. An environmental ministry team, pop-up meal called a climate cafe. That would be a great place to collect these cards. Kids kitchen, wonderful. This is great stuff. Fantastic. Now, you can post this in the chat if you have an answer. Okay, we have a lot of people who attend our church online. Can we collect names online and write their names on postcards ourselves? That is interesting. I hadn't really considered doing that. I think you would want to be extra careful that you're getting that they're really opting into that process before doing that. So make sure that they're very clear. We really want to get as many people to fill these out in person as possible. But if that's someone's only option, for example, if they're very COVID cautious and they don't go to things in person, then do what you need to do. So Geneva's saying 100, that's great. Yeah, people attending online is a big deal for us too. That's great. Now, where do you all think that you all are thinking you're going to collect postcards? Is it going to be primarily the coffee hour, or do you have places in the neighborhood in town that you think are going to be a good fit for this sort of campaign? What do you all think? Farmers market, wonderful. And if you think we can do this at coffee hour and that's where it's going to be, that's great too. Coffee hour, community chorus. Ooh, I love that. A plant sale at church. That's wonderful. High school environmental club, maybe in the church neighborhood. That's great. Yeah. Community vacation Bible school of 6 churches. Oh, that's wonderful. A retirement community sustainability group. Oh, I love that. That's a new one. That's fantastic. Great, great. Special day on May 27th. Cool. Debbie, what's the special day about? You got to tell us more. This is great. Well, I'm sure that in conversation with the folks back at your congregation, you're going to hear a lot more. Folks are going to have their own ideas. They're going to have their own people that they can talk to and network with and bring along in this movement. So that's wonderful. These are some really great ideas. Thank you all for sharing your ideas already. Yard sales. Ooh, I love that. It's a good reason to just go to yard sale. Retirement community green team. These are so good. I love it, love it, love it. Okay. Well, I just wanted to say thank you again to everyone who joined this webinar today and learned more about this campaign. I'm so excited to hear the ideas that you all already have for how you're going to make this campaign a success. I'm so excited to see these postcards start shipping out and start to see photos of folks with clipboards collecting them at coffee hour and out in the world. So just so honored to be a part of this campaign and can't wait to see once I pass it off into your hands where it goes from here. With that, I'm going to pass things back over to Reverend Dr. Brooks for closing words and maybe a closing prayer.
All right. Thank you, Andy, for such a well thought out campaign. We appreciate all the information you shared, and I appreciate all the great questions and comments and insights that have come through the chat and the Q&A today. We are grateful for everybody that is participating, and we want to do whatever we can to be of support to you moving on from here. I'm sure we'll, probably have a post email where we put in all these links that people have been asking for. So we'll make sure you have everything that you need. Let us close now in prayer. Dear God, we are grateful for your spirit of justice, for your spirit of love, and your spirit of hope. May it continue to germinate and grow within us and beyond us. May it enliven and embolden us for the holy and sacred work of agitation. Let us make the most of the gift of ministry. Let us make the most of it for our children and grandchildren. Let us make the most of it for our neighbors, both near and far. Let us make the most of it for all of your creation. In the name of your Son, we pray. Amen.